This is the tympanum of the Abbey of Egmond. This portrayal, however, is not merely an artistic choice, but also a reflection of the investiture controversy. The larger-than-life depiction of St. Peter in the tympanum, bigger than the figures of Dirk VI and his mother Petronella, underscores to me the Church supremacy over secular authorities. St. Peter with the keys to heaven would have been a powerful symbol of hope and salvation, reinforcing the idea that the Church was the gateway to eternal life. I enjoy showing you this old tympanum as we start our historical tour of art and the social-political narrative of the High Middle Ages. Between the years 1000 and 1400 AD, I observed that the Low Countries, which include present-day Belgium, the Netherlands and Luxembourg, were abuzz with new forms of art. This was a period when people began to feel a sense of national identity. They erected large churches that demonstrated the significance of their faith. Artists in this region were renowned for creating items such as metalworks, decorated books and large woven tapestries. These artworks, which I admire, showcased the artist's exceptional skills. For the Christian identity of the people living in those days and circumstances, all this meant a profound connection to their faith and the Church. The grandeur of its artwork served as daily reminders of their beliefs and the omnipresence of the Church in their lives. The flourishing of art during this time fostered a sense of pride and unity among the Christians, as it was a tangible representation of their culture and spiritual heritage. The creation of strong, visual, imposing churches was not just an architectural achievement, but also a statement of their communal and religious identity, solidifying their place within the Christian world and underlining the importance of their faith in every aspect of life. Let me tell you this story of a time when art was a window to the divine, a tale from the Low Countries in the High Middle Ages. Imagine walking through a medieval town where every corner, every church, every home is alive with vibrant colors and breathtaking imagery. Here, art wasn't just a feast for the eyes. It was a way to touch the heavens, to feel the pulse of God's creation. I'm not just a bystander today, I'm an active participant, weaving through the streets, marveling at the grandeur of the cathedrals, the riches of the tapestries, that tell tales as old as time itself. I see the goldsmiths, like alchemists, turning metal into masterpieces, and the bookmakers, whose every stroke of the quill is a silent prayer captured on parchment. This was a time when art spoke of power and piety. The church and the nobles didn't just display art, they spoke through it, declaring their love for the Almighty. And it was not just for the elite. Even the humblest of farmers found joy and solace in the beauty that surrounded them, for it was a reflection of their faith, a part of their very soul. As the story unfolds, you'll see how this art wasn't just decoration, it was a declaration of identity, a bold statement of what it meant to be a Christian in those days. The towering spires of churches reached for the sky not just to impress, but to inspire, to bring the community together in a shared vision of something greater than themselves. The High Middle Ages was a period of significant artistic development. Painters were masters of their craft, employing a variety of techniques and materials to create their masterpieces. The most common medium used was tempera, which is a fast-drying paint made from colored pigments, mixed usually with egg yolk. This medium allowed for a high degree of precision and fine detail, which is characteristic of the period's art. Artists also began experimenting with oil paints, which offered a richer, more luminous finish and allowed for more extended working times. The oil paint was made by grinding pigment with linseed or walnut oil, which could then be built up in layers to create depth and texture. This technique was revolutionary and would later dominate Western arts. The use of gold leaf and intricate detailing with fine brushes was also prevalent, adding to the luminosity and ethereal quality of the paintings. The preparation of panels for painting was a laborious process. Panels were typically made from oak, which was abundant in the region, and had to be carefully seasoned and primed with layers of gesso, a mix of chalk and glue, to create a smooth surface. The gilding process involved applying a thin layer of gold leaf over a bowl, a reddish clay that provided a warm undertone to the gold. Artists of the High Middle Ages were often part of guilds, which were associations that regulated the trade and ensured the quality of the work. These guilds also provided a network of support for the artists, including training and the sharing of techniques. Painters often worked in workshops, with apprentices and journeymen contributing to the completion of commissions. The life of a painter during this time was one of both reverence and challenge. While their skills were highly sought after, they were also subject to the demands of patrons, who often had specific requirements for the content and style of the paintings. Painters had to balance their artistic integrity with the need to satisfy their clients, who were typically wealthy nobles or members of the clergy. In terms of living conditions, painters in the High Middle Ages lived much like other skilled craftsmen. They resided in towns and cities, often near their workshops, and their social status could vary greatly. Some achieved fame and wealth, while others lived modestly. However, their contribution to the cultural and artistic heritage of the period was immeasurable. The legacy of those artists is not only in the paintings that survive, but also in the techniques and the materials they developed. In the High Middle Ages, the Low Countries were made up of many small areas ruled by different lords. These lords had a lot of power because there was no strong king or emperor to control them. This meant that towns could make their own rules and people had some freedoms, like trading goods and making things to sell. But sometimes the lords would fight, which could make life hard for the people. Even with these fights, the Low Countries did well, because they were good places for trade and farming. The way people lived every day was also shaped by these politics. In some places, everyone was more equal, and even regular people could own land. In other places, the noblemen and the church had most of the power and the land. The church was very important in everyone's life. It helped take care of people who were poor and taught the children. The church was so powerful that sometimes church leaders were also political leaders. The history of the Low Countries during this time is full of different stories. because of the politics. It created a place with many kinds of people and ways of life. We can still see this in the area today, with its many languages and cultures. Emperor Charles V, born into the influential House of Habsburg, was a pivotal figure in European history, holding the titles of Holy Roman Emperor and King of Spain, among others. His reign saw the Netherlands under Habsburg control, and his policies there were marked by a complex interplay of governance, economics, and religion. As Lord of the Netherlands, Charles V inherited a prosperous and relatively autonomous region, known for its burgeoning trade and commerce. However, his reign was also characterized by efforts to centralize his power, which sometimes led to tensions with local Dutch authorities and the merchant class. Additionally, the spread of Protestantism presented a significant challenge to his rule, leading to religious conflicts that would continue beyond his abdication. Charles V is remembered for his contribution to the arts and culture, patronizing many works that would come to define the Dutch Renaissance. His abdication in 1555 and the subsequent division of his empire set the stage for the 80 Years' War, which would eventually lead to the independence of the Dutch Republic. The Dutch nobility played an important role in shaping the society and culture of the Netherlands. This period was marked by a feudal system, where the nobility held vast tracts of land and wielded significant power over the peasantry. Their way of life was characterized by chivalric codes which emphasized honor, loyalty, and martial prowess. Religion was a cornerstone of their existence, with Christianity permeating every aspect of life. The nobility were often patrons of the church, and it was not uncommon for members of noble families to hold high positions within the ecclesiastical hierarchy. The Crusades, a series of religious wars sanctioned by the Latin Church, had a profound impact on the Dutch nobility. Many nobles took upon the cross and journeyed to the Holy Land, driven by piety, the promise of indulgence, and the lure of glory and riches. These campaigns were seen as an expression of their religious fervor and a means to uphold Christian values against perceived threats. In terms of governance, the nobility had a hand in ruling the Dutch citizens and society through a system of manorial courts. They exercised judicial power and were responsible for maintaining order and dispensing justice within their domains. The nobility's judgments were based on a combination of local customs, feudal law, and the emerging common law. This period also saw the development of representative institutions, such as the States General, where the nobility, along the clergy and the burghers, had a voice in the broader governance of the land. Honor was a central concept for the Dutch nobility, influencing their conduct in both private and public life. Duels and tournaments were common ways to resolve disputes and demonstrate valor. The concept of honor extended to their interactions with the lower classes, where nobles were expected to be just and protective, albeit within the strict hierarchy of the feudal system. The Dutch nobility's influence began to wane with the rise of the merchant class and the centralization of royal power. The Order of the Golden Fleece, founded in 1430, was one of the most prestigious orders of knighthood. The knights of this order were often involved in significant historical events, shaping the political and social landscapes of their time. These narratives not only provide a glimpse into the lives of the Dutch nobility, but they also reflect the broader themes of power, loyalty, and ambition that defined the High Middle Ages.